Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse. Thanks so much for joining me today in this video. We're going to discuss the Gilded Age that we're entering into and how the illegal immigrant invasion is facilitating this next cycle of history. So, unfortunately, due to the way that technology has changed, both bad and good tend to spread throughout the interwebs, and the bad has a lot of power, particularly in the case of a very weak good. So lately, there's been a TikToker, and I'll put a link to this in the description box below, who essentially came here to the United States, and he's an illegal from everything that I can understand, and has been encouraging people with his social media following to completely live off the taxpayers, to scam the federal government, to steal from American citizens from the tax system. But now he's gone a step further and is encouraging people to invade private residences, homes of American citizens, and to take squatters' rights, which there are no rights for a squatter. Let's be real about this. You do not have a right to something that you don't own. That whole life, liberty, and property thing, John Locke's second treatise on government, kind of the basis for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, all that has the prerequisite of you having ownership over things that are actually yours. If you don't have private property ownership safeguarded, you have nothing. You have no system of government, really, that's effective. So we've got this illegal that's come here and is teaching other illegals to do the exact same thing, and is essentially encouraging lawlessness and encouraging the invasion of private homes now. So I don't understand when you have a person, this is not a small following, by the way. To my knowledge, this dude has got like over 500,000 followers, and in some cases, I think there's like several million views and likes on some of his stuff. This guy's got a following, okay? And why he's still here and hasn't been tied up, locked up, or deported, I don't understand, but here we are. How does this play into the Gilded Age and the cycle of history that we find ourselves in? During the Gilded Age, essentially after the war between the states in the United States, there was an unprecedented level of economic expansion that was really caused by two things. Number one, the federal government expanding and continuing its manifest destiny and all the things that came with it. And then two, that enhanced quote-unquote security of the federal government taking over pretty much everything and consolidating power. Once that was done, it allowed big banks, big industry, and certainly the beginnings of the military-industrial complex to really flourish. When that happened, a lot of these industries and the new technologies that undergirded them started to spread and started to expand in a way that hitherto was impossible in the United States prior to the railroad, prior to the telegraph, and the wide adaptation of things like petroleum and like essentially like kerosene. There's a really good series, by the way, called The Men Who Built America on the History Channel, which is, it's not perfect, but it's kind of a dip your toe in on this. You start to see that as these new technologies expand, that certain categories of people become obsolete in their skill sets and in the way that they make their living. Also, you start to see that the rapid expansion of these technologies, the adaptation of these technologies, allows for information to be transported back and forth, and ultimately allows for, here it is, massive migration. Now, you could argue that the massive migration is solely for economic opportunity, but you also see that this massive migration is in many cases brought about by wars that have been the result of competition for scarce resources secondary to these new industries growing and expanding. So what we're seeing now is that in these, particularly in Central and South America, Venezuela, for example, which is where this #1 grade A dirtbag TikToker is from, that these failed regimes and that these failed governments and the chaos that has been sowed from this reality manifesting is now not a contained chaos. Now, because of information and because of technology, i.e. smartphones, internet, etc., people have more options than they used to. Information spreads back and forth for the good and for the bad. And so people are coming up here and they're invading our southern borders. And now, obviously, besides actually being here and taking up taxpayer dollars, now they're being taught how to steal, directly steal, take possession, unlawful possession of American taxpayers' domiciles. Now, when it comes right down to it, friends, you're going to see some massive change. We saw this in the Gilded Age, and part of the change in the Gilded Age was economic, but a lot of it was social, and much of it was political. And a lot of this political change that came as a result of massive expansion in new industries, this huge gap in wealth that was created, was that new regulation stemmed from it. And a lot of this new regulation also stemmed from the new social demographics that became the political expediency and the political norm. So here's what you're going to see over the next few years. Over the next few years, you're liable to see that all these illegals that have come in here, it's going to be pretty hard to deport them. You can do it, but let's be real about the honest limitations of manpower on the ground. In order for anyone to be rounded up and deported, anyone to be rounded up and detained lawfully, they're going to have boots on the ground to do that. Who is going to do that exactly? I don't think that it's going to be foreign militaries doing this. I don't think that it's going to be even the United States domestic application of the military. That would not be a good thing anyway. But it's not going to be the police force because they've been defunded. I don't see that massive deportation is going to be a possibility. The only way that it's going to essentially manifest is if the border is shut and people are given jobs. Now, in the United States, we're in a demographic free fall at this point because we're not hitting replacement volume for native born American citizens. They're not having children anymore. So the powers that be understand this, and they know that they need the new peons, the new working class, the new sweatshop laborers, to harken back to the Gilded Age. They need the new sweatshop laborers to come in because the native sweatshop laborer element is not being born. So there's definitely a reason for this. There is a reason that both sides of the aisle have not really tackled this issue because it benefits them. For the Democrats, it benefits them and their voter base, and for the Republicans, it benefits them for cheap labor. And so Key bono in this. Both sides benefit, at least the uniparty benefits. So the massive changes that we are going to be seeing are more than just the invasion of our border, and more than just people who don't belong here in the first place telling more people who don't belong here how to literally come here and take our stuff, but now literally come here and kick people out of their houses, or take possession of houses that aren't theirs and essentially steal the largest asset that most people have across their portfolio in their lifetime is their home, real estate. So this is about to get real. And how I think it's going to change is that we're going to have a competition again over scarce resources. There's only so much taxpayer dollars that's floating around. A lot of this is floating around by virtue of inflation and by virtue of printing. And eventually we're going to go broke. It could be with the wide adaptation of cryptocurrency. It could be when the world decides that they're really tired of the United States telling everybody else how to live and what to do. And when we lose our hegemonic status, which you think about this, eventually this competition over scarce resources by virtue of these new technologies being widely adapted, this comes to war, famine, and disease. These are the ubiquitous factors present throughout human history. So we saw at the end of the Gilded Age, the beginning of World War I. Okay. At the beginning of World War I, you had these new technologies that were widely adapted being applied to popularly mobilize the masses of people who had previously been not politically engaged. But now, because they had telegraph, they had newspapers being delivered, it became more of a middle class endeavor to talk about, I don't know, the way that Germany was producing at the time, right before World War I. Germany was producing a lot of goods that were being exported around the world. Germany was arming itself. They were building up their navy. And really, you had the dissolution of people groups across nation states. It was chaotic, but a lot of this chaos and a lot of this ability to create war and to create havoc was built upon these widely adapted technologies, the way that we're seeing it now. So the internet has had its day, and now it's having its new applications, whether it's in artificial intelligence, which is going to probably cause a lot of unemployment, worse so than what we're already seeing, and how we're going to be able to employ all these people with tech skills that they were taught, go learn to code, and they went to code, and then they were replaced by a machine. What are we going to do with all of these people who are going to be unemployed? How are we going to feed these people when we've got millions invading us on our southern border? The only way I see this having any kind of peaceful outcome is a dissolution of the United States as an integral association and breaking up into smaller groups, the balkanization of the United States, or the reassertion of states' rights under an Article 5 Convention of States. It's the only way that you're going to have any type of reasonable outcome, because the current configuration is not working. The feds are taking our money and doing what exactly? Giving it to all these people who are now literally invading the border, but being encouraged to steal people's houses. And it's a thing. It's a thing. It's not just, oh, this might happen. No, this is real. You can have, as an illegal immigrant, better health care than what a lawful American citizen can purchase who is a middle class earner. They have better health care than what we can purchase. It's true. What copays? What out-of-pocket deductibles? Please. No, we are about to be in a massive upheaval. And whether it's one stupid TikToker coming here and flapping his trap, stealing stuff from America, it's just kind of the superficial that is revealing the bubbling storm underneath the surface. The new Gilded Age, what we're seeing, is going to be an age of more regulation, of less freedom for natural-born American citizens, and I say probably a massive siphoning of wealth away from people who earned it into the hands of people who didn't. And the way that we combat this, friends, this is the dark part about it. In the Gilded Age, a lot of people swapped land and self-sufficiency, and they prostituted out their labor into sweatshops for the illusion of a greater standard of living, a better standard of living. It's an illusion, right? When the rural areas were emptied of their population, the farms, etc., when they were emptied of their population, everybody went to the cities for work and for like chasing the dream. So they thought it was, but then they realized when they got there, they were chasing their tail, that it was costing them more to live in squalor than it was for them to live on the farm, so to speak. And then of course World War I comes in, and then we have the song, how are you going to keep them down on the farm after they've seen parity? So we're in the midst of a major change, and it's going to bring about probably some things we've never seen before. But the cycle continues. So the best predictor of the future is the past. And in the Gilded Age and in the ages past, the people who were in the long run better able to take care of themselves were the ones who had skills, who didn't prostitute out their labor to somebody else to capitalize on it, i.e. people who were small business owners, or people who, for instance, own their own farm, or who did small scale cultivation of food. When your food's secure, your rights secure. Because when it comes right down to it, if you can't get starved out and you can't get cowered out through people with badges coming and saying, I'm from the government, I'm here to help, give us over your firearms. If you don't play ball with them on that, then you're going to be free. Doesn't mean it's going to be a comfortable freedom. It's going to be a prickly and thorny one probably, but that's a big part of it. And also, if you can take care of your family's medical needs, you're going to be less dependent upon them. And in the future, this is a fact. There are not enough healthcare providers to care for everyone who's aging. We have an aging population. The baby boomers are not going to have enough healthcare providers here to take care of them. This is one of the reasons why the movement popularly is shifting towards home care. They don't have enough hospitals with infrastructure to care for everybody who's getting sick and who's aging out. I mean, I hope we have the baby boomers, the righteous people in our lives till 120, but statistically and demographically speaking, that's not going to be the case. People are going to live to the ripe old age of usually 80, 90 if they're blessed, and then that's it. But the population's getting old and there ain't enough people to care for. So how is this going to work out for people? They're not going to have, in their old age, what they were promised. They're not going to have the medical infrastructure that they expected, and their children certainly are not going to have infrastructure. I fully expect, as a technical millennial, I fully expect never to see any of the entitlements that people are enjoying now that I've paid for. I'm not going to get Social Security. Are you kidding me? There's not going to be Social Security for me. Like, what Medicare? Please. It's not going to be there. So we are getting stolen from to see nothing effectively come to fruition from it. If that's the case, then we might as well prepare to take care of our needs now rather than expecting somebody else to do it later. So the beans, bullets, and band-aids, that's what this is about, the preparedness. And if you are interested in securing that, let me encourage you, take care of your food supplies, so get some food stored up, or look into propagation yourself. From the bullet standpoint, make sure you can defend yourself and pursue actively self-defense training so that that is a better option for you. And then also with the Band-Aids portion, make sure that you have options to care for your family's medical needs that don't involve going into a grid. That doesn't mean you're going to be perfect, because it doesn't mean you're going to stay 100% away, but any type of decrease that you can implement in your life to need people less allows you to have more freedom. So that's actually where I come in. I have over a decade worth of free stuff for you to view online, all my back catalog of videos in medical preparedness. You can view that for free online. I also have a couple of courses. I have a 4 and a 7 hour course online. And then I also have an in-person class. It's the one class that I'm teaching this year. It's a boot camp. It is effectively 2 weeks, roughly, in Knoxville, Tennessee. And that's a very limited offering. I only have 20 spots for that. When it's gone, it's gone. And that is the only offering that I have this year. And it's right before the election in September. So you can find all that information at the website, thepatriotnurse.com. Hope it was helpful for you guys. Hold on, it's gonna get pretty dicey. This is an election year. I fully expect all of the weirdness to come out in full-fledged blaring neon. Have a great weekend, guys. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.